Okay, okay. Today's talk is going to be the faith and delusion of those who believe in Einstein's relativity. The talk I will refer to is by Virginia Edwards, Einstein and Relativity, and it's at this website. And this is an example of a person interested in Einstein's relativity and what they understand by it. So we go to the website. That's mine, which we come to. Here we go.
Virginia today is speaking from the Advanced Communication and Leadership Series, Speaking to Inform. She's doing project number 5, Abstract Concept. Virginia's objectives for today are to research and analyze an abstract concept, theory, historical course, or social political issue, and to present the ideas in a clear and interesting manner. Virginia's time that she'll be shooting for today is 7 to 9 minutes.
Virginia is not a scientist, but she loves history and reading about great events and discoveries. Today, she will share what she learned about Einstein and relativity. Einstein and relativity, Virginia Edwards, Einstein and relativity.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, is there anyone here who has never heard of Einstein or the theory of relativity? Except the young man? Didn't think so. I'm not going to ask you to explain it or tell me if you fully understand it. I know I don't. And I don't think anybody but top physicists totally understand the theory of relativity. It is probably the most famous equation in history, and probably the least understood. Now, Albert Einstein is also the most famous physicist and probably the most famous scientist of all time. His name has become a synonym for genius. All people Einsteins. He spent his life trying to understand what was happening in the world, and it started when he was a very young child. Now, as I said, Albert Einstein is known for the theory of relativity, but there are actually 2 theories of relativity that he developed.
Okay, that was it. She's going to go on and explain what she understands by Einstein's relativity, and I'm not necessarily going to agree with it. But the point I wanted to make is when she says back earlier, if we can get it back again.
He spent his life.
No, not back, but earlier.
Now, Albert Einstein is also, I don't think anybody but top physicists totally understand the theory of relativity.
So she's saying she thinks only the top scientists understand Einstein's relativity. It's quite an admission by her that she admits she doesn't understand it, and she's going to explain what she understands by it, but she admits the full thing, she doesn't fully understand it. If I can just get it back again.
Explain it or tell me if you fully understand it. I know I don't. And I don't think anybody but top physicists totally understand the theory of relativity.
Right. So, if I go back to my notes. So, we have an admission she does not understand the subject, but she says that she thinks only the top physicists, scientists understand it, and that is her faith. She does not understand it, but she has faith that there are those who do understand it. And if you think about it, that is, faith is now becoming a bit of a religion when you have faith, and it's not a question of looking at Einstein's relativity and understanding it. It's just having faith that somebody else understands it. Right. And that is an example of what a lay person thinks. They don't understand the subject, but they have faith somebody else understands it. Now, I go to my own personal history now. Now, I was open-minded to Einstein's relativity a long time ago, and it seems a long time ago now. I'm getting on now. I was open-minded. Einstein's relativity. Yeah, I was open-minded to it. But my experience is, I can explain now, it's roughly as the following. Right, if I go through it. Person 1 would explain Einstein's relativity. I would say, okay, thanks. And then I would talk to person 2 about Einstein's relativity. And person 2 would say something completely different. I would point out he was saying something completely different, and person 2 would claim that person 1 did not really understand Einstein's relativity. I would then talk to person 3, who would say something completely different to person 1 and 2, and claim person 1 and 2 did not properly understand Einstein's relativity. I would then talk to person 4, and can you see where I'm going? You just keep talking to people and they all tell you something different. They all claim something different as being Einstein's relativity, and they claim that they understand Einstein's relativity, but anybody saying they understand Einstein's relativity, saying different to them, doesn't really understand Einstein's relativity. So, based upon my experience of all these people, my conclusion is, of course, they're all deluded. Thus, we pass from the layperson who has faith that there are people who understand Einstein's relativity to the people who have studied Einstein's relativity, and that all those people who've studied Einstein's relativity, they are suffering delusions. My conclusion, they're all deluded. Thus, Einstein's relativity, with its followers having faith and delusions, it becomes a religion to them. Right, so I wasn't quite happy with that. Where did this religion come from? So I studied the history of the subject, and this modern version of religious fanatics have all been engaged in numerous revisions. Right, see Einstein's mistake. It's an admission that Einstein made mistakes. It does not go far as far as I'm concerned. So I'll show you the book. Here we go. Einstein's mistakes, the human failings of genius. It's by Professor Ohanian. He's the professor of relativity, and in his version of revision, he's trying to say, oh, Einstein made mistakes. So Einstein made mistakes, you revise relativity to try to correct those mistakes. That is an example of a revision. If I can move over, this is the sort of thing he says. Although Einstein was the greatest genius of the 20th century, many of his groundbreaking discoveries were blighted by mistakes, ranging from serious errors in mathematics to bad misconceptions in physics and failures to grasp the subtleties of his own creation. Right, so this is where the delusion of all these people believing different things comes from. When I've talked to person 1, he would explain Einstein's relativity. Person 2 would say something else. Person 3 something else. Person 4 something else. And it all comes from Einstein's mistakes. They can look at what Einstein says, and rather than recognise what's been told to them by Einstein's mistake, they can actually believe it. Or they can look at what Einstein's saying, oh, Einstein made a mistake, I will revise that. So they've got the original version of Einstein with his mistakes, and they've also got the revised version of where they think they corrected his mistakes. So you've got loads of numerous revisions on Einstein. This is where all these people come from. Person 1 saying one thing, person 2 saying something else. This is why they all deluded. Einstein set them on the path for it. So Einstein's relativity, with its followers having faith and delusions, becomes religion. Right. Right, so I want to refer you to the twin paradox challenge. Here we go. Not that one. Yeah, no. There we go. This is a website, a twin paradox, and it's an open letter to the physics community about the twin paradox. 2011 is the centennial anniversary of the publication of a famous paper by Paul on space and time, in which he introduced what became popularly known as the twin paradox. This letter discusses the results of a recent study of the twin paradox problem. This NPA study concluded, NPA is Natural Philosophy's Alliance, NPA concluded that after 100 years of work on his famous problem in special relativity, the twin paradox continues to be unresolved. Now, all these people suffering from the delusion that they believe in, they understand Einstein's relativity, they will all sort of like tell you different solutions to the twin paradox. So from their delusion, they think they've solved it, but they haven't. They're all contradicting themselves. Our purpose in writing this letter is to request that a specific new course of action be undertaken to resolve this problem. Now, the responses to this twin paradox open letter showed that there was indeed great confusion about the meaning of time dilation and other key constructs in special relativity, even for the official spokesman of special relativity and for the most prestigious of mainstream physicists. So we have created a follow-on open letter on special relativity. This follow-on letter simply asks for the physics establishment to clearly define the meaning of the key constructs of special relativity. If special relativity is well understood, this will be a trivially easy task to do. On the other hand, if the mainstream is unwilling or unable to clearly define the meaning of special relativity, that strongly reinforces the argument for such a definition. As feedback or lack thereof materialises, it will be posted on this site. So what we are requesting is that they clearly define what special relativity is. And of course, I have looked at the history of the subject, and what they have done is made numerous revisions. And so they completely made it ambiguous as to what are these numerous revisions is the official version of Einstein's relativity. So if I go back to one of my lectures here, this is a talk I gave, the lie on which Einstein's relativity is built, and I explain that what they mean by the speed of light in a vacuum has changed its meaning. When they talk about it being constant, they have actually changed its meaning, and this is completely made the whole subject into a lie, basically. If you are working from the assumption that the speed of light in vacuum is constant and you're going to try to test that by experiment, that is a different theory to a theory where you have defined the speed of light as being constant. And then they completely try to hide all this up. They try and hide up their mistakes, and basically which translates to them lying, really. So special relativity has not been clearly defined, and all we have is believers making contradictory claims about what they believe. Yeah, that's the conclusion of the lecture. Einstein's relativity, with its followers having faith and delusions, becomes religion. This is, of course, complete corruption of science. And I think if you look on the internet, there are people saying Einstein's relativity should be removed from physics because it's totally corrupted the subject. If they can't address what they're really talking about, it's just corruption. Thank you.